Hi. I went to this school 50 years ago, and we had the 1968 graduation 50-year anniversary this year. I mention that because you can't live that long in this state on the edge of the Arctic without coming away with a extreme adventure story. And that's what I'm going to tell you tonight. It started with a note on the taped to my plane at Phillips Field, now part of the Johansson Expressway. It said, "Will you fly for us? We're opening a gold mine and we need a pilot." They pulled out big nuggets at the coffee store, and I thought, wow, I got the fever right there. I imagined to be having a big poke at the end, but at the end I got two vials, one for the plane and one for myself. The guys who were miners there, they got the same. The management said, "We didn't get any gold." You need to have that kind of in writing before you go to do it. The mine in 1991, it was just 80 miles south of here, in the foothills of the Alaska Range, between two big foothills, was the number one producer in the interior in 1991. There was lots of gold there. When I voiced my displeasure at this cleanup dinner, settle-up dinner, they said, "Well, you want to go back and find your own? Go ahead." So I did, and I went with a friend who is a history of gold mining in his family, Del Johnson, and my wife, which was we weren't married then, but we got married. The three of us, every hour we managed to shovel into this box, got an ounce of nugget gold. An ounce an hour is pretty good. It was $216 an ounce in 1978, which is when this was. And that was significant money. A nugget, by the way, is anything that you can hold over the pan. You drop it and it goes tink. If it doesn't make a sound, it's dust. This was all nugget gold. We had just a mile up from the camp where the airport was our little tent we had for a shelter, and we had a Briggs and Stratton pump in the creek, this Gold King Creek, pumping water through a box 5 feet long with AstroTurf in the bottom. When we were done for the day at cleanup, we would pull out the riffles, which were just 1-inch pieces of wood, and roll up this lawn and put it in a galvanized tub and shake out what was left in the bottom of the box. We'd pan that out, and there would be a big gold smile in the bottom of that pan. It was just ridiculous. This story, though, is about a hat, kind of. My family had a farm in Missouri, and I was on this farm managing it. We had longhorn cattle and buffalo, and I thought that qualified me for a Western hat. At a feed store, there was a huge pile of Stetsons, these boxes of Stetson hats, and on top of the box was 7, and that's my size, and I put it on, and I'm looking in this mirror, and I'm thinking, wow, I don't look too bad. And from the back of the store, the salesman says, "You ain't big enough to wear that hat, son." Well, I whipped out $100, bought it, and wore it home. But then I parked it because I looked ridiculous in this hat. It was a big John Wayne commemorative Texas Cavalry World War. But at the mine, I felt like I could get away with wearing it. And I had a Randall knife, a big 7-inch Randall #1 knife. It's worth more than a 44 Magnum's Model 29. But you have to wait 2 years if you want one made for you. All the miners wore 44 Magnums, Rugers. And they asked me why I didn't have a gun. And I told them that I was going to Daniel Boone my bear. The bears in this part of the country are called Ursus octos, horribilis. For good reason. But in my history, I had a teddy bear. My mom read Winnie the Pooh to us kids. I watched Yogi and Boo Boo. I fought fires for Smokey. I just didn't have a bad feeling about bears. Growing up on a homestead, my dad had the first pick of Chino Ridge property, and he picked the top of the hill. And I still live there. There's bears just over the hill. Lots of bears. But no worries. I volunteered to walk back from camp to get a jar of jam out of my plane that I knew was there because I had a jar of jam and a box of pilot bread for my survival box. And as I'm walking down the trail, it's in September. I've already flown all the miners out, and just us there, just three people. I'm walking down the trail, a mile to camp, and the leaves are on the ground, and it's slightly kind of misting. The ground was really kind of wet, and it's kind of slick. But I had tied on my dad's. I sold them out of his closet. Converse All-Star Chuck Taylors. Real popular with kids now. Which is kind of ridiculous because they're just like putting your foot in a plank. But I liked them because they were size 11s. I wear a 10, but I could put my boot socks on, but I didn't have to take my boot socks off to tie them on. So I'm walking down in these big shoes, kind of like a clown, and I detect a little movement over here across the creek to my left. I look over there, and it's a grizz. It's a beautiful shade of brown. It's leaning up. It's a male. I can tell that. It's leaning up against the bank across the creek, about a little further away than this gentleman here. It doesn't see me. Its eyes are closed. It's humming. It's playing with itself. What's more interesting than sex? I could have made my escape right then, but instead, I'm staring at this thing. All of a sudden, its eyes snap open. It goes from blissed out to pissed off, just like that. It does this amazing athletic feat of jumping up onto the bank behind it. I can't even imagine how I saw it, but I can't. It's hard to comprehend. And all of a sudden, it looks like a Minuteman missile coming out of the silo. This big brown furry thing is heading straight for me, arcing over the creek. I know that you're supposed to stand your ground. I tell this story to kids at school, and I tell them, stand your ground. Because if you run, you're prey. You don't run from a bad dog, you don't run from a bear, especially one that can do 40 in like 2 seconds. But tell that to my legs. Usain Bolt had nothing on me. They say that the best bilge pump is a scared man with a bucket. The fastest runner has got the Converses on. He's got the bear behind him. I don't know what happened, but I ran right past my plane. I couldn't slow down. So I made a big turn. I came back to my plane. In my plane was a 12 gauge. I loaded it with bear slug, bear slug, bear slug. And I went stalking back up the trail for that bear. I was a little bit upset. Forgot about the jam. I didn't see the bear. I'm glad I didn't see the bear. I have never wanted to shoot a bear. I don't hunt moose or anything. I don't like to kill stuff. But I was ready then. And in the trail was my hat. I had to run right off from underneath my hat. I didn't think about my hat. I didn't think about my knife. I was going to Daniel Boone my bear? Ha! Never entered my mind. But my hat, my beautiful hat, I got to tell you about this hat. Did I tell you about the hat already? Did I bought it in Missouri on this? Oh, yeah, I told you what the guy said about it. Okay, thanks. Well, that hat was disgusting. The bear had stopped. I saw where it had slid to a halt. The hat saved me, but what happened to the hat was, I tell kids that the bear did a Mexican hat dance on it. But I really don't know what the bear did to it besides clawing it and chewing it. He kind of slimed it. It was disgusting. I didn't pick it up. I boosted it into the creek and it floated off. Back at the camp, I said, hey, we are out of here. I was spooked. In fact, I'm feeling it right now. I think it's called PTSD. Where was I? Oh, the next year, and I made a better deal with these guys. There was a different group in there. That other group, they didn't get the lease renewed. But there was other guys, the other miners there, and they were just as happy carrying their guns with them everywhere they went. But I got cash for every flight. And I got friendly. I liked hanging out with miners. When I landed one time, that they did a special thing. They rang the bell and everybody came. And they had a little presentation for me. There was a bottle of blackjack, which if the FAA is in here, I waited 8 hours till I got back in the plane. But they walked around the side of the building with this. One of the miners had found my hat. It was lodged into a willow downstream, and it had gone through the winter. It was clean, you could touch it then. The cook kind of steamed it, and they kind of blocked it back into shape. And when I want to feel ridiculous, that salesman, when I bought his hat, he might have been right. I'm not big enough to wear this hat.